Hello,
What's
hello.
going on? Hey.
Hello. Give me a sec. Oh, God. Hey. How are you?
I'm all right. How you doing?
Very good. Always a silly question, I find, actually. I mean, silly, funny.
That's the hardest trick question for me. Hi, how are you?
Like, I don't know for you. For me, it's always like, what do you mean? I mean, of course I'm fine. Sure, I mean, whatever.
Yeah.
Really, it's amazing. It used not to be like that. My God, it's yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
No longer. I'm gonna put you a bit louder. There you go. All right. So that's your phone. I like it. So I love the silence. It's like nothing to say, right?
Yeah, I was just thinking about that before you joined the call. I was thinking about like, Ramana doing silent transmission, or like Lisa Cairns just sitting there for 10 minutes in silence before she begins talking. Like I do that before people join, and then I edit that out because people on YouTube don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
But it also reminds me of like, if somebody asked the Buddha a particularly misguided question, he would just quietly smile at them because there's no answer or words or concepts that could correct that mentality. So you just sit there in silence, which is like a demonstration of not storytelling for a moment, or of that state.
That's very interesting, because I actually approach it a completely different way. I go in the story on purpose, pointing to the fact it's a story, and to break the mental barriers. Now, with some people, I'm like, okay, not now, because indeed there are moments where it's if they're in a crisis or something, there's no point. It's just I listen and that's it. But if you see it's just questions here and there, and misguided, sure, but there's something there. I'm like, okay, let's jump in and just it's a story.
Like my style is to just directly answer the question.
I
know what you mean. That's how
I really like it. That's why I'm saying it's very different to mine. I really like it. It's nice to see a very different approach.
Yeah.
I was watching a few of your videos. Don't remember which. I did watch quite much of the one with Giselle. Also really fun. But it's nice to see how some people that you look at them and then people are like, so how does that go? Don't know, like whatever comes, it's awesome, because it has to trigger something. It can't be otherwise, and it's amazing, really.
It's like playing ping pong, but the sage can never be the one that serves the ball the first time. It's like,
I like that. Yeah, I like
that's how it feels here anyway. With the way I do it, it's like the seeker has to serve the first volley, and then you can volley for all time. But it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thanks. I'll use that more, I think. No intention to copy you. Don't get me wrong.
Feel free.
But, just sure.
Feel free.
No, I mean, I have my style anyway, and it can't. I'm very. Here's how it will work with you. So it's just I actually spot the character. So that's why I'm saying I go the other way around. I spot the character. It's something I've always been doing, even before waking up. It's just like a intuition, just that simple. And I'm like, all right.
It's like using the ego against itself. You realize how the ego works and how the mind works. And you can kind of use its own momentum against itself. That's what Zen koans do, and you can answer a question the same way by making them go into the mind and investigate as if it's a real thing, as if it's everything they think it is. And then as they start to go into that even deeper, it starts to fall apart on its own. And they're like, oh, this isn't what is this? Why is it?
It's really amazing, because I mean, for me, that was my path, so-called. That was just trying to understand every single word, comma, feeling, anything, for myself, but even for people, towards people around me. And I generally thought for years that that's it. I'm like that. I won't change. And in a way, it's true. It don't change. I mean, that's why I said do it like this today, the way I approach it. But have fun. that's the whole 100% difference. It's fun. It's my mind.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's
shiny bauble. It's the ultimate toy. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. I mean, what else? Well, mind, if you consider there is one anyway, because ultimately,
there's no
there
mind.
isn't. But yeah, I mean, it's just a nice word to. So I say to people, it's a nice word to describe, a thought, the thinking process, if you prefer. Like, that's it. That's it. You have a brain. Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Sure, good. Do you know what I mean?
It's funny how words work, right? You might say something like, "Well, I was thinking about going to the store." I'm like, "Well, I thought there was no thinker." Yeah, there isn't. I thought there was no I. Yeah, there isn't. So anyway,
No.
I was thinking about going to the store. They're like,
yeah.
like, well, you can't switch between the ultimate and the personal. Like, yeah, you can. Like,
yeah, you can.
How else did you think words worked?
Yeah, but that's the thing. I really approach it with words, and I think like I said, it's very interesting for me to see your approach, because I'm like, I mean, knowing where you're going each time, if that makes sense, I'm like, okay, right. I love to see the mechanics of it, basically, and to see someone smile. That's just. Yeah. That's a gift. Like that's a gift. I mean, for me, that's the game I love. It's just I don't know why I do it. Of course not. I just do. And if at some point I don't want to, I just stop. But I can't see that happening, because fuck, it's fun and it works, and it's fun and it works. It's like the results are outstanding. So that's obviously encouraged me to go on. But yours is very interesting. It's very. Correct me if I'm wrong. That's just the way I see it. All right, but it's very. You strike me more as a philosopher, if that makes sense.
Well. I used to be, so I have that.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's like I have a double major bachelor's degree in psychology as well as philosophy, with kind of concentrations in like neuroscience, French, finance, things like that. Through my university that I went to as a. But so I wanted to be. I never understood my place or my function fully as a seeker, as a young seeker, because like when I entered college, for example, I was thinking, okay, I like to talk about deep things with people, but I don't like limits. And I guess I'll be a philosophy professor, and I'll have an audience, and we'll have deep conversations, and that'll be fulfilling. Because that's always the most fulfilling parts of my life, are having deep conversations, So I thought, okay, I'll be a philosophy professor. Now, I'm glad I didn't go down that road. I would have been doing a bunch of homework and teaching, intro to philosophy right now, and I'd be burned out. But so I didn't even know that non-duality speakers existed back then, so it's I knew the energy I would fit into, but I didn't know if there was a role in society. Like how do you become a societal shaman, is how I used to think about it. It's like where can I, the shaman, fit into society? Where can I I remember in college I was hanging around a couple hipsters, and they were kind of turning me into one at the time. And I remember going into this type of dialogue, and one of my friends just looked at me and says, Andrew, we're not sages, we're college kids. And now I'm having a flashback to that, and it's like, well.
It's very interesting. Yeah. I also found the the way to non-duality, but I really heard the non-duality words as I was not done waking up, but mostly, if that makes sense. Most of my stories were gone. I knew the truth as such, and and I feel like, what's that thing, non-dual? I like the word. I really like it. And I was like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. That could have been my path for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I was kind of doing it before I knew what it was. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Kind of like I was hearing the kind of I don't know. I've just always hopped between traditions and things, but the Parsonian message, if you will, it's kind of floating around in the word cloud, and I'd hear it, and I'd be like, what is that? And then like way later you realize like how it all connects. But the effect it has, even though there's no cause and effect, but we can talk that way, I guess. Same way I can say I'm going to the store and thinking about it. The effect of that is, it was doing something, it seems. It was rewiring me. It was spooking me. It was and there's a lot of different influences here, but they all kind of relate to that ultimate message of nothing or non-duality, Kriya Yoga, Zen, Sogchen, that type of.
Right. Wow.
I kind of come from that type of thing. So to then jump into radical non-duality and then have all that, you know, I was such a desperate seeker that I was just kind of glued to Google and trying to figure out everything I possibly could, and just desperately seeking enlightenment. Like, I was consciously aware that I was desperately seeking this thing called enlightenment since about age 12.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of people say things like, well, I became a seeker when I turned 30, and I just can't, like, it doesn't register. I'm like, that's like that. You might as well be speaking Martian. I have no idea what you're talking about. Like, you're an alien. I have no idea what that even feels like. I could never even guess what it's like to begin seeking at 30. People, well, when did you begin seeking? Like, you know, depending on how you look at it, either birth or 8 years old. You know, so it's like, but yeah, I was seeking enlightenment at 12.
To people that's very interesting. It's what I say to people as well, that I mean, if you're not awake, per definition, you're a seeker. But then there's this moment when you know that you're looking for something. Does that make sense? It's you know you're looking for something. You don't necessarily call it enlightenment, non-duality, whatever. But
seekers hesitate to label themselves as seekers. Seekers don't like to be labeled in general.
Yeah.
So usually, if you say, so that's why, you know, it might be more tactful to say a self-proclaimed seeker. And yet, if we're getting technical with it, I would say there's kind of three categories. There's people who never even begin seeking, and they're still technically a seeker. They just wouldn't even process it that way. They still have that seeking energy. They just never enter into consciously seeking this out. Like, oh, there's this thing I'm looking for. You know, they might go in, become a businessman or something, and desperately seek money until the end of their days, and they're never satisfied, type of thing. In the last 3 seconds of their life, they're finally satisfied, as it's revealed. But then there's people that, like, something happens to them, or they're suddenly like start meditating on their own mortality or whatever it is, or they realize that the world is inherently unsatisfactory, and then they begin seeking consciously, and they desperately go to all the retreats and read all the books and ravenously consume all the YouTube videos or whatever it is, and try to talk to everybody. And then there's people who wake up, but they're not really people at that point. Once you wake up, you're not really a being anymore. You never were.
No.
No,
but again, you've got to use words, and you've got to use something to define something, and of course no word will point to it precisely, but
some words come closer than others, but they're all indirect. I know what you mean. It's still good to get the good words.
Exactly. I usually say like I'm awake simply, or whatever, but this it's funny this, because people think, not always, but in general, like, okay, you're awake to what? You mean you're not sleeping? Or this idea of
they always go, like, you're awake from the dream. It's like, no, I'm still in the dream. This is all a dream.
That's it. I'm still in the dream. I just know it's a dream. It's the only difference. I'm lucid. Exactly. I just know it's a dream, and I have fun with it. But you know, no, it's very interesting. I started seeking. Same thing. I would say actually 8 years old, but I would never consider it like that. It's just I was raped actually at that age, and it's fine. Like, don't give a shit now. But
you know, I've noticed something that every time, like, it's age 8 for almost everybody, most people, 90% of people, and people will say that the story of whatever trauma was happening at that age is what triggered the seeking or the suffering. But really, like, you know what I mean? Like, I could say something like, well, you know, my parents got divorced when I was 8, you know, before I realized all that. And then I felt a certain way, but it's not technically that caused it. It's just, that was the age that it happened.
Exactly.
And so then your mind tries to tell a story or find a reason, and like, well, why did suffering begin? Why did something change? Well, technically it's because the ego came online, and it may have triggered the ego coming online in a certain way, but really that you're already primed at that age for that to happen. So people always do that. They go, well, this really traumatizing thing happened when I was 8. And I go, well, it's really funny because it happens to everybody at 8. And they all say that this really traumatizing thing happened to me at 8. And it's like, it's really interesting.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. And it's funny. Isn't it like 7 or 8 that they call the age of wisdom or reason? I don't know how you say it in English, but something like that. I know it's a saying in French,
okay, yeah.
but that makes sense actually. Yeah, that makes sense. I never thought of it that way, but yeah, that makes perfect sense. Because yeah, there's just the memory of a trigger we like to remember simply because we want to make some sense of it.
Yeah,
but you can't
exactly.
make sense of it.
Exactly. It's so chaotic, and you desperately want to make sense of it. So you're like, well, that's kind of logical. I mean, that was a huge, horrible thing that happened to me that really traumatized me. So I guess that caused it. But really, it's just a correlation thing where around that time that energy is just kind of present there. It's not technically the cause, and yet that's how it appears in the mind. Yeah.
It's amazing. But I really do think that, I don't know if I'm saying that because I see things differently now, but I really do think that people, I mean, in general, the world, it really is waking up. I don't know if I think that because I'm awake. Do you know what I mean? And because and
then you have a lot of sage friends, You might have 100 sages on your friends list. You're like, oh, I guess it's more common. Well, you might just be particularly connected into that realm, There's some people that'll never, because there's so many people that will be desperately looking for a legitimate, genuine sage for their entire life and maybe never even find one, or might not be able to detect what's what and who's who, yada yada. So people ask me that a lot. That's one of the more popular questions. Like, oh, do you think there's this mass awakening, like Eckhart says? And personally, I don't think there is. I think it may be the case, and it's open for debate. Obviously, it's just a personal opinion. We don't really know, but
no, of course,
it seems to be the case here that it's just that there's more people in the world and they're more connected via technology, so you can seek out the others, as it were. Like if you were really into gardening and you hopped on Facebook, you could fill your friends list with 5,000 expert gardeners. You know what I mean? It's kind of like that. Like you just happen to be interested in awakening. So of course you're going to have 100 sages on your friends list and go, wow, I guess this is more common these days.
Yeah.
And people who are into gardening, they go, wow, I guess gardening is really picking up. Everyone's into gardening now.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that makes sense. It's exactly how social media works. Especially Facebook, they just show you something you like, and obviously you like it, and then they show you other things you like, and it narrows down the funnel basically towards so of course what you're going to end up with is people that have similar interests as yours, and it goes just extremely more and more narrow basically. That you see, it's a funny perspective, because I mean I definitely see what you mean completely, and at the same time for me I'm like, again, it's just, I don't know, my take on it, but like, how could it not? I mean, truth is truth, right? It can't be otherwise. The truth wants to meet truth. Does that make sense? It's just, and then there you go. We meet today. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then how could it not be that the world doesn't wake up to some extent, like the other way of a funnel, basically, like but at the same time, not everyone will, that's for sure. Not everyone will.
Yeah. But I kind of contradict myself, because I'll say something like, well, I don't think, but then on the other hand, I have another set of personal beliefs that says we're in a cycle, a 24,000 year cycle of civilization rising and falling and unifying and separating, and we're on the up and up. So technically there is a subtle increase in mass awakening. I just don't see it in terms of like, oh, within my lifetime, there's going to be this huge revolution. Like, like the Seeker wanted 2012 to be this, the life, the world changing thing. It's like, well, no, like from this perspective, we're in the Bronze Age and we won't even enter the Silver Age until like 4200 AD. You know what I mean? Like, we're on the up and up, but it's gradual with regard to a personal lifetime length type of thing. Yeah.
And that's the amazing ultimate truth in the end, is just there's nothing but opinions. It's only fucking opinions all the time. Now, of course, once you're awake, I don't like to say you see things in the right way, because obviously there's no right or wrong, but your vision
according to Buddhism, right view.
Yeah, your vision has obviously shifted. So of course you see things through. You do, and of course the way truth, who you are, who am I, who everyone is, expresses itself in 7 fucking billions different ways, which is why today we can discuss this, and like, I know what you mean, I agree, I don't agree, whatever, doesn't matter, but because because it doesn't matter. And that's the amazing.
That's what's so cool, right? I love when I agree with somebody. I also love when I disagree with somebody. Like they're both so interesting to me. It's like, oh, we agree. There's resonance. Wow, I found one of my kind. Then like, oh wow, we disagree. That's so cool too. Like we can look at it a different way. We can you can deepen your own perspective by it's not even debating. It's just like sharing different perspectives, and it's so beautiful. And
it is
the diversity of perspective, the diversity of genetics and things like that is just so profoundly beautiful.
Yeah. It's the idea that as a seeker, there's always something to learn, obviously, as a seeker. And then when you wake up, you realize there was nothing to learn in the first place. But of course, then people ask me, so you're not learning anything? No, I'm learning many things, but I don't need to anymore. That's the thing.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
my mind continues to function. Of course, my mind continues to function. And it's like before waking, what's the saying? Before waking up, you go get the water or something like this, and after waking up, well, you go get the water. Basically, that's it. It doesn't change. 2 + 2 is still 4. But
yeah, exactly. We almost need a new word for it.
Yeah.
Like because it's like we'll still tinker around and look into the traditions and poke around. Like, oh, that's interesting. Oh, cool. Okay, yeah, cool. And we deepen our understanding a little bit, but it's just no longer, like you said, it's no longer needed. There's no desperate like to feel fulfilled. Like, where is it? I gotta find more. I gotta learn more. I gotta understand and know more, because then I'll feel right. No, you won't.
Yeah.
You either feel right or you don't. You're either in that mode or you're not.
And you see the goal I find in this is that just like there is no real starting point as a seeker, if that makes sense, there is no ending point as enlightenment happens.
Exactly.
There is none, but there is an end to suffering, and that's it.
And that goes against the grain of radical non-duality, but I totally agree with you at the same time.
Yeah.
That's why we're rebels, we're rogues, we're pirates, as we keep harping on. They need to know. That's why we repeat it.
Yeah. But that's the thing. There really is no there is no end. There was no beginning. That's always been like that. But at some point your mind stops trying to fucking understand that, because and regardless of the words you use, you know that you don't know, but you know.
Exactly. Yeah, that's true. It's true. And there's those silly words again, and you're absolutely right. And the way I like to put that is I say, you may one day realize that nobody can know. You might then say that you know that you can't know, and yet it's different, right? And I like the way Buddhism puts it. They say awakening is the end of the lesser journey and the beginning of the greater journey. I like that.
Yeah. It's
not like the journey ends. The journey still ends, obviously. My life didn't begin until awakening is how it feels. That's the rebirth in a way.
Yeah. It's the, but ultimately, and that's the way I see it for myself, right? It's just what keeps sharpening in a way from a mind perspective is I know. It's just that simple. I know. It's not even a voice. It's just who you are. That's it. It's the truth of who you are. Always here. So on the spur of the moment, you always know. It's not possible not to know on the spur of the moment. Next second, you say something else, means something else, and what you said before is not true anymore. But it doesn't change the fact that it's all fucking true. And that very knowing sharpens, if that without the need to sharpen, without a search for it to sharpen. But it's
happening on its own. It's deepening on its own. It's the clarity is intensifying more and more on its own. That's why people say things like, they'll be like, well, don't you have to stabilize awakening? It's like, well, no, it just kind of does that on its own. It's like,
it does.
It just kind of calibrates itself. It's so perfect. We don't even have to do anything. It's not that the sage has all this willpower and discipline and they're cultivating themselves more. It has nothing to do with any of that. It's just effortlessly happening, and it's just getting more and more crisp and clear on its own.
And that's it. That's really it. And even because I don't know about you, but then I see that so well in the practicalities of my life. So give you an example. I've started a Facebook group about 4 months ago now, because that's one way that I get basically people in the group to help them, and then some of them become clients basically. I don't like the term clients, but for lack of a better word anyway, because there's a money transaction at some point, if they wish. Now, I'm saying this because at first I had no fucking clue what to do with the group. I just thought, well, that's a good idea. It makes sense. You create a group that just feels right to me, to the character, if that makes sense. So I'm like, okay. And I started doing things. I had no fucking clue. Like, and I thought that what I was doing was gold as such. And there would be like one like every now and again. I'm like, okay, it's not working. And as I keep just doing stuff without questioning anymore whether that's right or not, but just because, yeah, I like it, fun, sounds fun, it works amazingly.
And that's
every
why
week
it
I see,
works.
and that's
my mind wants to say it's because
yes,
you enjoy it. It's like if you
exactly.
wanted to invent a product for the world, you wouldn't just sit there and do A/B testing and, oh, we got to do a group controlled test to see what the products they don't. What do you like? What fires you up? What do you resonate with? And when you do what you like and you put it out there, people are like, oh wow, I like that too, because we're not all that different.
No, exactly, and that. But you see, that's why I'm saying again, it's just an opinion, right? But that's why I'm saying people are bound to wake up in a way, because you.
Yeah, it's inevitable.
It sharpens already. It sharpens already. But again, yeah. What? How? No fucking
it's
clue.
Kind
it's
of
just
like
I find just a nice conversation.
Yeah, I mean, imagine like a grand race, and everybody's running in this race, and one guy's 12 feet from it, and one guy is 12 billion light years away from it. That guy's still going to reach the finish line one day.
Yeah.
You know, on a cosmic, like my mind isn't, these words aren't making any sense. They're not logical, what I'm saying, but this is a feeling that I'm expressing. And it's like there's this imminent inevitability that's, it's like we're all falling into a black hole. You might be further out from it, but it's pulling you, whether you notice or not. And as you get closer to it, it kind of pulls faster and faster, and then you fall. But yeah, I know what you mean. Like on a certain level, everyone is destined for this. Or you might say, another way to put that would be, perhaps everybody awakens at the moment of death, at very least, or something like that. You know what I mean?
Not possible otherwise. Yeah, indeed, completely. But I'd say it's a birthright to wake up, but somehow you have to, for lack of a better word, deserve it. And it's not deserve it in the capitalistic way or something, or you have to be a good person or a good seeker. But it's not that. It's just, I think at some point you have to want it. You have to realize.
Yeah, I think so too.
I am suffering and I don't want this. I don't know how yet. Doesn't matter, but I don't want this. And that's
because if you subconsciously want to keep suffering, you're going to. It's like having a friend that's desperately hooked on heroin. It's like he's not gonna let you even try to help him unless he actually wants to quit. Exactly. If he doesn't actually want to quit, he's just saying he wants to quit, he's not going to, no matter what you do. No matter how many times he's chained into rehab, he's gonna find a way to shoot up or whatever. It's like that, you know. But the day he's like, you know what, I actually want to quit, that's the day he'll actually be listening to the help to actually. And the same thing with awakening. It's technically that the seeker subconsciously, desperately wants to keep suffering and increase that suffering more and more. And the reason the seeker wants to suffer is so that the world still seems real.
Yeah.
Because suffering anchors the realness into the dream of separation.
That makes sense.
The part of you that lies to itself and says, "Oh, sweetheart, I brought you roses. The world is real." That's the part that wants to keep suffering so that the world seems real. That's the romance. That's the, but there's 8 billion of us, sweetheart. The beloved. My sweet beloved. You're real. You exist. You're a person. And it's a lie.
You're a person.
It's a beautiful, romantic lie. And that's why there's suffering in the world.
It's exactly. It's this very idea. You're born, right? And at some point, innocently, your parents or whomever brings you up will say, "Hello, you," and that's how it starts. It's innocence. There's nothing.
I'm over here. You're over there.
You. Yeah, exactly. And the trick is it can't be otherwise. It's the unexplained. It can't be otherwise. It's not possible. You can't not address a baby or whomever. You just can't. I mean,
you're right.
No,
you
can't.
You said that. Hi, you. I like that because it's like if the parent just smiled at them with a non-dual transmission of silence, that wouldn't occur. But the moment they say hi, you, the baby brain goes, "Wait, what? What, is there 2 of us? Are you trying to? You're over. You're okay.
That's it.
On a very subtle level." But that's planting the seeds of ego development.
The very first seed of the idea of a me and a you, and of course then you look around and hey, fair enough. There's two bodies, you know, and that's it. Like,
Yeah.
That's it.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's pretty convincing. Okay.
Oh, I get it
Yeah.
now. I get it now. No,
It
that's
does
the thing. You
seem
don't.
separate. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a uniquely human problem. I don't see that anywhere else. Like you can see how dolphins are self-aware to a similar degree. Elephants are self-aware, but it doesn't cross a threshold where it becomes a problem for them because they are under this delusion that they are somebody. Or as my friend Michael Markham would joke, he would say, you know, if they teach Coco the gorilla 12 more word concepts, she might start suffering.
I like that. It's true. No, it's very funny.
Yeah, like self-awareness is the problem. It's not a like human scientists are like, oh, we're so self-aware and brilliant. Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah.
Like, well,
No, it's
just
not
the root cause of your suffering, but okay.
Yeah. But that's all right.
But humans like to suffer, so of course they glorify the root of suffering as if it's the crowning jewel of the human experience. In a way, it is, right? It's kind of trippy that way.
Yeah, it's the thing. It is and it isn't. But it's this very idea that anyway that just humans are superior to animals. We're not. We're absolutely not.
Yeah,
we
just
have
are
developed in a way
than most humans. Well, animals are in the non-dual state. So are the plants. So are the, you know what I mean? So So the average squirrel is more enlightened than 99.9% of adult humans.
Completely. Period. Yeah.
And the seeker doesn't want to hear that because they want to feel special and intelligent. What do you mean the dog's enlightened? That can't be. No, I'm special.
Yeah.
Like, well, no, the dog is. That's why I always like that Zen koan. Does the dog have Buddha nature? Because from the sage's perspective, it's so obvious that the dog is the poster boy for Buddha awareness. So that's that smile. The dog is Buddha nature. It's the ultimate demonstration. That smiling dog. Like, how would you miss it? What do you mean you're asking me a question? That's hilarious.
Yeah, exactly. It's very, very obvious and funny at the same time. It's like because that's a bit how I approach things. One of the key things that I start to say to people when I have a first talk with them, or in my posts and stuff like that, is, now here's the thing. Right now I'm talking to you, and you're listening, Well, if you're listening, you're here. I'm like, so then I go, either I don't get it, or they don't get the double meaning, if that makes sense, and or they straight away like, okay, interesting. Well, it's just like when you listen to music. You don't need to try to understand the music you listen to hear the music. And that's because you want to hear the music. Now your mind will go doing other things. Of course, it's natural. You don't expect it not to, most of the time anyway, when you listen to music. But either way, you hear the music. It's just like right now, you hear what I'm saying. Here's the thing, it's not possible not to hear, you only think that it is.
Yeah.
And that's
there's no eyelid for the ear.
Yeah. And that's,
you can't close. There's a reason for that.
Yeah, exactly. And that's this whole idea. Like for me, that's like really how I woke up. There's no how, but what one of the last like eureka moment like was this realization that I knew who I was. I knew the truth of. I was clear there, and my mind was mostly liberated. And I was working on something. I was already starting to help people. I felt like maybe I want to have something that is just fucking like brilliant, because otherwise no point. But in my perspective, right? And then for weeks, I remember I wrote stuff. I thought I this and that in a playful way, right? And then until I realized, maybe I shouldn't say it, but I was high actually that night. But I realized like, it's what I think. It's what I think. It's what I think. I mean, it's a thought. It's just a thought. It's just a thought, Max. What isn't a thought in the mind perspective? Nothing. That's it. You know who you are. You can only know who you are. Once you know who you are, you know you're not what you think, because everything else is just a thought. And boom, with that ground, people are bound to wake up. And that's because that's the thing. Once you know who you are, you can only know who you are. Can you think you know who you are? Well, and then the character goes, I'm this, I'm that. Yeah, it's what you think. It's a thought. Yes, it's a thought. Okay, it's not you. So, okay, who are you then? Pointing. Can you remember who you are? No. Can you forget who you are? No. And then some people go in their stories, it's just a matter of bringing them back and look, are you listening now? Yeah. So you're here. Yeah. That's not what you think. Yeah, I hear. You're not trying to understand, because if you try to understand, and that's the whole bringing it all back together.
And that's what Chen does. Yeah, you're doing. Yeah, it's just doing non-dual pointing out instructions. It's the same thing. It's all the same thing. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
There's so many ways to do it. Yeah.
It's
totally.
And then there you go. Yeah.
And it's funny too, because you can almost use reverse psychology. Like the way I might say it is, I'd say, you're not your thoughts, you're not your behaviors, you're not your feelings, and they're so used to being told, you have to think this, you have to feel that, you have to do this and not do that. That it short circuits the programming, because it's just not expected at all to hear something like that. They're not primed to hear something like that, and so it has a potent, stark contrast of an effect in the mind, and the way the mind processes. Like, to give an example, my grandma was she's kind of a worrywart sometimes, and she was really worried one day, and she was really anxious. And you can always say, "Oh, grandma, don't worry," and it's not going to stop her. You know what I mean? So one day I said, "Grandma," She said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm worrying so much." I said, "Grandma, there's no free will. You have no choice but to worry." And she calmed right down.
Yeah.
And I thought, huh.
That's it. Yeah, reverse psychology works pretty well. I find on some people.
There's nothing
anyway.
You can do in this world to even slightly decrease your worry. Suddenly they stop worrying. It's like, that's funny how that works.
Yeah.
Because if you said don't worry, they'd worry even more. They'd worry about
worrying. Of course. It's the whole thing. The whole do's and don'ts. You do thing.
Exactly.
Guaranteed you'll do the opposite. Almost guaranteed.
Exactly.
Almost guaranteed. Yeah.
That's what I like about in Kriya Yoga. Yogananda's guru's guru, Lahiri Mahasaya. I always liked his style, because you could tell it was non-dual. Even though it was from that tradition, it was its own type of non-duality. So somebody would approach him and he'd be teaching them, yoga, which was really just a series of kind of Kundalini type meditations. But people would come to him and he would say, okay, you know how they have in yoga the yamas and the niyamas, the do's and don'ts? You're like, yeah, I've been doing that for 20 years. But he'd say, yeah, go ahead and skip that. People are like, wait, what? And it's kind of like, there's two things to that. First of all, it's from the non-dual perspective, saying obviously there's do's and don'ts are, infinitely infantile and juvenile. And it's basically like, not, this message here isn't for the beginner seeker. This is for the seeker toward the end that's ready for that final push.
Exactly.
This isn't 101. This is the PhD thesis being completed type of thing.
Awakening. Yeah.
And there's different like teachers or speakers or guides that I think people have a kind of a niche demographic or audience that people specialize in seekers at a particular stage of the journey. And I've always had the feeling anyway that my function is for people that are, toward the end of the lesser journey and ready for that final push into awakening.
Yeah, and you see, that's I couldn't agree more with what you just said, because they really are like, I don't know, but I can think of many people I know now that do that as well, and it's obvious that they're for the beginning of the path, and it's great. Like actually, if I think of someone like Eckhart Tolle, who's hugely known, I mean, don't misunderstand, I think it's great what he's doing, but he brings people to the search, which is an amazing thing. So of course he's got this it's great, but then of course, some people will wake up with that, of course, but mostly not. I don't think so. The Power of Now is a brilliant book. Right. I mean, I read that myself when I was seeking.
I've given it as gifts. Yeah, I know what you mean, but I totally agree. Yeah.
But then it's I didn't wake up with that. I mean, I woke up myself, so-called anyway, right?
Exactly.
But
like you said, it'll help people like, oh, there's this thing out that wasn't aware. I'll start seeking now at 30, 40, 50, whatever it is, And exactly right. People like Ram Dass and Eckhart Tolle, it'll introduce people to this path, and it'll show them that this is even out there, and that there's this, that they can find something, but it's not. And yet it's kind of like Yogananda's message on it's like there's this, or really any yogi that's ever come to the West, it's like insanely watered down and like taken down to this third grade level so that it becomes popular in America.
yeah, yeah.
Or else it
And that,
doesn't. And people
yeah,
that are at this particular niche of, you know, the end of seeking, the very end step, that final self-inquiry type step, they tend not to be as popular as, you know, the big
no,
names. They have a
no,
much
no,
smaller
indeed.
audience, much lesser income, and that's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. It's
we're
fine.
just
It's
we're
it's
just
just what
not
it is.
probably going to become millionaires from speaking about this, because there's not a wide audience of advanced seekers, if you will. There's a million seekers to every advanced seeker type of thing, you know.
Yeah, yeah, that's true, and that's the thing, because I how can I say, with the what I've found so far from what I've been doing, okay, so it's just my own experience in helping people wake up, is that it works for, I'd say, I'd say the middle seeking way. So not beginners. No, I don't, until the ones who are very ready, who are like, yeah, very very ready. Like I call them ripe. So you're ripe. Come,
Yeah,
you're just ripe already. Like
exactly.
just, it's just like boom, you're ripe. You're good.
Yeah,
You're gonna flourish. Just
only the ripe ones would want to talk to someone like us. Yeah, exactly.
well, that's what I'm saying. For me, I mean that it actually works for people that are in the middle as well. But what will happen, what has happened for now, is that doing, well, there was a magic, which is how I called what I do, is they, how can I say, they will wake up, they will recognize who they are, they will, but their mind will still be in a questioning pattern. There's a lot less afterwards. And what I've seen so far is that in general, like a couple of months, 6 months later, they're done, basically, because they listen again. Basically, they listen again. So, but the ones, so and that's why I find it's amazing. The beginner, I tell you what, I actually think it could work, but it's not what I want to do. It's not what, that's not. Does that make
Yeah,
sense? It's not what I want to do. So
it would be
I
irritating for
focus
me
on
to
those.
do that. Yeah, that's
I
it's part of why I say I focus on. It's part of it's selfish. Like because I enjoy. I would
Of
rather
course,
talk to an advanced seeker,
of
and like, yeah,
course.
I'll talk to somebody else, but it'll, if I'm talking to someone who just began seeking, even though I'm a sage, I feel like I'm bashing my head off the brick wall too.
Course, exactly, and yeah, I
Yeah.
completely agree. That's exactly what I'm saying. I
So that's
can't
very
either do
generous
that.
of you to talk to people in the middle. I don't
Well,
know if I would. I don't know if I would have the patience.
well, that's the thing. I have the patience, but of course, I prefer to talk to people who are in the end, because it's, I just say my things, and then like boom, it all falls down like in a minute. The program is on a few weeks, but after the first session, they're already like, okay, what else do I need? Well, not much,
Yeah.
but go on, just to make sure you're done. But that's it. And but yeah, it's because that suffering ends. So of course you're not gonna do something you don't enjoy. Do you know what I'm saying? I mean,
Yeah.
if you can avoid it, you will. It's that simple. It's
Yeah,
that
exactly.
simple.
That's what the ego does. The ego does all these avoidance strategies. And, you know, I know I just said that you know, what I just said, but at the same time, I guess I do talk to people that are kind of in the middle there,
That,
and it's
that,
not as irritating as I just said, really, because it's kind of, part of it's amusing, and
yeah,
part of
it
it
is.
is fun in a different way. And
It
it's
is.
also kind of cool to introduce somebody to this who's never heard of it. Like that's kind of fun. Like if they've
It
never
is.
heard of any of that, and then you're the first one they talk to, because you know there's people that talk to me who also talk to, you know, Tony Parsons and Jim Newman and Andreas,
Mm.
like all the other speakers, and they'll make their rounds. You know, within a week they might talk to 20 of us, and they keep doing it and they enjoy it. But like this isn't me introducing it to them for the first time. You know, they're like, yeah, I understand. I've
Yeah,
heard this before, but I like the way you put it. This is cool. You know, but someone who's never heard this message and you're the one that introduces them
yeah,
to it,
yeah,
that can
yeah.
be
It's
a really interesting experience too. I've done that a few times, and
yeah,
that's got its own flavor as well. You know, I know what you mean.
uh,
Yeah, but
yeah.
yeah, at
It
the same
does.
time though,
It's
I don't expect them to make rapid progress though. I guess
yeah.
maybe I should. Maybe I should expect that.
Well,
Maybe that'll help
I
them.
don't know. I mean, you see, that's why I was saying it to you, because when you say you do only the end, I mean, I hear you. I mean, I don't know you. Don't get me wrong. Or
Yeah.
don't whatever.
But I also like
I
expanding
have this.
that demographic and that audience. Yeah, I
I had
like what
this
you're doing
feeling.
there.
I had
Yeah.
this feeling when I said, look, I actually think you do more on that. And you see, that's what I do. What my brain does, if that makes sense. It's just when it comes to the character, I spot it. I can't explain why. I still do it. It's always been working that way, for lack of a better word. Okay,
Yeah.
and it's just pointing this. There you go. So if you're able to do that, to show the character, well, that he is one. sorry, that he is not one, that he only thinks that he is, something like that, in that vein. That it's you break down the walls so fast, because that's the thing in the end. Is it's so, when you finally wake up, it's so freaking simple. Like, how did I not know before? And of course you realize, and the irony is, of course, I've always known. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
of course,
yeah.
I've always
It's
known.
always been
But
there.
but this time I really do, and that's
it's
the
not
trick
even
for me.
shocking. Yeah,
exactly. It's not even shocking. It's so simple. It's like a drop fall in the ocean, and there's just not even ripples, but everything changes. And of course, nothing changes either. Just the amazing, not understandable, finally understood, so-called awakening. And that's the trick. Once, for me, the well, doing it the way I did is it's just because I like it, right? But it's in the sense, how can I say? Once I realize it's so freaking simple, well, I can't make it complicated for people, can I? It makes no sense. Do you know what I mean? And so it's always that idea, which is in the realm of playing. Don't get me wrong, of course, but it's always that idea that I can make it simpler. I can make it simpler, and I have fun with it. So I make it simpler, and that's how it broadens. It broadens the audience, basically. Now it does talk to the ones who are ripe. It's the oh, Max, don't even need to call you first, and that, you know, they just watch 2 videos and that's it. Like they want to, and then the other ones will watch like 10 videos. They will read 10 articles. They will go back to someone else, and then they come back, and it's like
2 years later, they loop around.
Now I hear your message, and I always say the same thing. Yeah, I always say the same thing. I always say, it's just a thought, guys. It's my message. It's just a thought. That's it. But at some point, they hear it again. They have what I call a mind attack. Do you know what I mean? Like the whole like, and then at some point they go past that, and they start waking up like that. Like, now you're right. Now come. And that's how I personally broaden the audience. It's wrongly said, but you hear what I'm saying.
It reminds me of Zen. It reminds me of it reminds me of like what a Zen master would do. It's like they'll ask a question that can't be answered, so that like you said, a mind attack. So the mind starts to like, I can't get this. You know what I mean? Like, what is the sound of one hand clapping? And then they go meditate on it, and then eventually they get so fucking frustrated that they have a breakthrough when the mind fucking snaps and breaks. When the mind, like, it's like a computer that gets too hot and just shuts down, just shuts off. And then there's a peace, and they're like, oh, this. Oh, it's like the mind can't find the answer. You know, what came first, the chicken or the egg type of thing? It's like your mind isn't gonna, oh, I figured it out, I have the answer. That's never gonna do that. It's just if you leave them hanging, you know, the words of sages or Zen masters kind of have that effect, right? If you leave them hanging intentionally, or if you, I like the way you do it. I've never seen it put that particular way, because usually I think in terms of like how to circumvent the conscious mind. Like, okay, well, hypnosis will or I'm trying to talk to the clarity and not the person. But I like how you do it. That's really interesting. You're directly, that's the thing. That's why you're directly speaking to the delusion. I like that. That's an interesting way to do it.
Thank you, and that's why I also like your way, because. And that's why, look, don't get me wrong, I don't know you, it's just a hunch here, but the way you do it, that's why I call you a philosopher, right? Because you've got this, you're not, I get you, but it's in a sense, you've got this amazing way of, and probably because you did psychology before, I don't know, of reversing the boom with an intelligent phrase, if I can sense, you know? But an intelligent phrase that everyone gets. Do you know what I mean? That's what I see in you. And that's why I'm like, you could go down that road as well, if that makes sense. Which actually, you know what, you probably do in a way. Maybe you don't realize. I don't know. I mean, again, I speak like I know. I have no clue. It's just my blah 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 blah. You know? Because in the end, that's what I do all the time with people. Like, what you do then for a living? And for people who have no idea, I'm like, I speak. Because that's it.
Exactly.
I speak and I exhaust their minds. I'm a speaker. I exhaust their minds. But because this way, it's, how can I say it? Ultimately, your mind has to shut up to get it. That there's no question there. It's obvious.
And that's how glimpses work. Because the seeker can reach a point where they totally shut up the mind for a few seconds or a minute. And in that moment, they'll have a glimpse, but it's so hard for them. And they call it surrender, which we wouldn't really call it that necessarily, but the seeker calls it surrender. And it really, it's just It's so hard for the seeker to shut up the mind for a moment. But if they did, they would have a glimpse. And yet there's people that go 100 years without even the slightest gap in that thought stream. And so they never have a glimpse. And that's how tenacious that mechanism is. But if you can get them to wear it down, and that's what sages do.
There's exactly, and there's, because I mean, there's nothing more powerful than the mind. I mean, to the point that you think you're somebody. I mean, it's once you're awake, it's freaking amazing. Do you know what I mean? It's very strong. So that's why I'm like, why not? Ultimately, the mind has to shut up, no question. How do you bring people to shut up? Why you make them listen? Listen, they hear, and again, simple. And at some point, I mean, some people will just bang their heads, like they have a proper mind attack, proper but still, they get the point. So it's just the suffering. It's the level of suffering basically that will be felt by the seeker ending his path with the way I do things, basically, that would be different. So for some of them, it would be just a massive pleasure and this, and because that's right. And for the others, they will suffer a lot, a bit less, nothing. That's it. It's just. But again, that's just
impressive. The time frames you're talking about are pretty impressive. You're talking about 2 weeks, 6 months, like that's on a certain level. That's impressive. Like I'm slightly jealous when you're talking about how you're doing that, because it's like, like you know what I mean? Like anyone that says things like I have certain friends that are like, I've got to, I successfully woke up 150 people. And it's like, wow. Like there's like a jealousy that activates in me. Like, man, really? Wow.
Yeah, no, it is.
If that's real, then wow,
it's impressive. But some people, I mean, do have that track record, and I mean, I know one. I don't know his track record anyway, but her, and but I've seen it for myself, and I'm like, well, because I've seen it for myself. Probably like I trust that works really well, because not bad, But that's the thing. It's like, I don't know. For me, because I've basically just started. I mean, to market it, kind of, because I use Facebook ads and stuff like that, and which is a hell of a. That's my brain is not good at. But anyway, gotta go down that road. Well, I gotta try that road, and it's So for the time I've been doing it, it's about a year, but only like 3 months where I started to have basically paying clients. Before I would give it for like 20 euros for the whole program, which is on 5-6 weeks, just to test it out. In a way, I knew it would work, but I wanted to see if it would work. Do you know what I mean? And I've had, I think, about 30 people, and one hasn't woken up. Like that's the track record for now, basically. And that one was really at the beginning, and that's why I'm saying I'm not taking beginners anymore. Does that make sense? It's But again, it's my take on this. But there's no right or wrong way to do it. There's just the you way. The you way.
I've only had one. So I've been doing this I've been a non-duality speaker for, I mean, actively, like on my own, for about 3 months now, and I talked to a guy in the beginning. And then 3 months later, I finally caught up with myself, and I sent him the video, and I was publishing it, and he watched it. And then he claims that he went through the shift while he was watching himself and talk to me. And that was the first one I've had so far. So three months in, I got one guy, and I'm talking to him today. Later on. So that'll be I'm really kind of interested and blown away by that, because on a certain level, I never expected that, but of course I want that,
It's awesome. It's awesome.
But he said, I've been following people around the country. I was with this master, that master, this sage, that sage. I've talked to all these speakers. And it just so happened that while he was talking to me, 3 months later, he's watching himself in that video. It's now on YouTube, and he's, you know what I mean? And then he says he had the shift. So today I'm going to talk to him about that. And then so I'm giddy. I'm excited about that.
I get you.
And it takes a lot to excite me. After awakening, excitement is a rare commodity. You know, it takes a.
Oh, is it?
I was overly excitable. I was kind of like a manic depressive kind of energy as a seeker.
Oh, right. Okay.
And so so now it's just so calm and neutral that like, for me to say I get excited, like it would take, like if I won the lottery, I don't even know if I'd get excited, you know, but someone saying they went through the shift while they were rewatching the video of a talk we had together, the potential for that, like that feels good, you know.
It's great.
And I don't know how I feel about the idea of like, oh, I caused it. Like I don't see it that way, but I also don't see it as like, oh, it's just a random coincidence, just so happened to be while
no,
it's kind of somewhere in between the two, obviously, you know. That's kind of cool.
But you see that's what I mean when I say I knowing, you know, because in a way, yeah, sure, you know that you're, I mean, you know that you're the point that helped him shift, because he told you. It's as simple. And of course there were people before, and it's not to deny what happened before, like people who come to me that they've been as well for years and years.
It's
and
not like
thank you guys for doing that job first, you know.
Exactly.
Exactly. But that's what I mean by this, that this knowing, and you do what you like always. You how can I say? Truth is, you always do what you like. You only think you don't. So you say I don't like it, and then boom, you complain. But what do you complain about? You enjoy complaining.
Because you like suffering, and then you like complaining.
Exactly. So it's very, very, very.
Because complaining induces the suffering that they like to do. Yeah, exactly.
But again, it's just because it's very interesting what you just said about how he woke up. So you just said he woke up watching himself, and that's exactly what I do. It's exactly what I do with my clients. Basically, is that we have a Zoom meeting. It's basically 4 sessions of 2 hours, right? And the first sessions are blah 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 on pointing them to who you are always, until they boom, until they click. Very like until it's not possible not to know. They know. Okay. I give the audio recording. I'm like, now you're going to listen to yourself for 2 weeks. So that's why the whole thing takes 6-7 weeks. You listen to yourself for 2 weeks. But I don't like to listen to myself. Like, exactly. Exactly. Do you know? I mean, some people don't mind.
And I've noticed that. I'll send somebody a video because I like to have them review it to give me permission to then publish it. So that I kind of am urging them to rewatch it so that I can then publish it. And sometimes it's an interesting thing to see yourself talking. It's much more. There's no weirdness from the awakened perspective. Like when I have a talk and I watch, like, oh, that's so perfect.
No,
but if I was a seeker and I watched that, like, oh my God, this is wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong. It wouldn't look perfect if I had done that as a seeker, you know. But for to then have a seeker rewatch that. Yeah, apparently that helped trigger it, apparently, you know. And so I'm kind of happy I'm doing it this way, because maybe it'll happen again and again. Who knows?
I was about to say, keep again, just my humble opinion here, but keep trying, because I know for me that works, basically. I know for me that works. And I, again, using the mind in that way, they listen. So they listen, yes, with their mind, and then they will have, well, what this, but what that. And there has to be this, what that, for the mind to drop something. It's for lack of a better word, but your mind drops the idea, again, the very idea of searching, because they know that's it.
And one of the weirdest things was I don't mean to interrupt, it's just I don't want to lose this. Right. The I don't know why, but my intuition, when I talked to this guy the first time, I remember thinking, you know, I really, really, really want this guy to wake up. And I couldn't figure out why. But I had that feeling. I'm like, you know what? Like, this guy's been seeking for a long time, and you know, he's having a hard time understanding what we're talking about. Yet he's really trying to, you know. And I'm thinking to myself, you know, I don't know why, but like out of everyone I've talked to, I just really, really, really want him to wake up, and soon. And I couldn't figure out why I had that feeling. And I didn't necessarily expect it to happen. I just really wanted it to happen, and then it did. And it's like, whoa, like real, whoa. Oh, wow.
It's amazing. Honestly, I mean, I'm gonna say congratulations. But it's so true. It's just, I mean, it's an amazing thing to watch them just boom. It's truth wants to see truth. It's that simple. Again, it's so truth wants to see truth, of course. Well, and when you say like you don't know why, and that's the thing. I mean, personally, I like that game to think I know why. So I'm like, I know this, I know that, I know I don't know. Here I'm saying I know, but
the ego always likes to add things to an end of the sentence. It likes to say for a reason at the end of certain sentences.
Yeah, exactly.
Blah 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 for a reason. The ego loves to throw that in there to connect the dots of cause and effect and storytelling, and
exactly, because
to make sense of it. And the sage speaks nonsense. They go, well, you're not a sage. You're speaking nonsense. You're like, well, that's exactly.
Exactly.
See, you're getting it. They're like, no, that's nonsense. I don't want. You're like, well, okay, but you should really look into this nonsense thing because that's the key to it.
Yeah, that's it. It's
making sense of the world is the problem. That's the delusional storytelling, ego mind, logical apparatus that is generating the delusion that causes suffering.
Exactly. And that's
so we shut that down. We did hammer to it.
It's in the end, ultimately it's getting the joke. It's getting the ultimate joke that there is fucking nothing to understand, but you'll keep trying. Of course you'll keep trying, but if you know it, it's fun, and if you know it, you're not searching anymore. And then again,
now it's a hobby instead of your
that's the thing, it's a hobby,
purpose.
Exactly. And it's
now
really
it's like doing a crossword puzzle. It's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna look into let me look into a little deeper into that particular tradition or this the new. Oh, look, there's a new study in quantum physics. Oh, that's interesting. But you're not like, oh, I gotta know. You're just like, oh, cool, okay, yeah, oh, interesting.
Yeah,
and very different it's, energy.
It is that thing again. It's exactly what I mean when I say knowing. It's just that when you say like, I want him to wake up. I don't know why, but I want him to wake up, and you just know that. And that I mean, after waking up, for me, that there's been a massive apparent change, right? And that is that now I trust that 100%, and that makes the whole difference. That makes just the whole difference.
And I was never under the impression that I was going to stop doing this. Like I was never like, at no point in the past 3 months was I like, oh, am I doing the right thing? Should I switch careers? Blah blah blah. No, I'm like trying to switch all my day jobs to just non-duality speaker, full blast, doing exactly what I'm doing. And I want to do it more and more and more and more and more. And that's what I want to do. And so there's no confusion there. I just didn't have any expectations. I just knew that I was selfish and this was inherently enjoyable, and that's all I need. And it should be nice to be able to feed my family and do this instead of telemarketing or something like I'm doing now.
Exactly.
That's all. But but it is cool. There's even though I wasn't questioning it or doubting it, I know it's having an effect. I know what this is. However, I just never had somebody directly come to me and say, listen, I woke up because of the talk we had, and it's like, whoa.
Wow.
It's been years, buddy. It's been years. So it's like, there's an interesting feeling I've never had before because I have always wanted that.
Yeah.
Now today I'm gonna talk to him for the first time again.
Wow.
Through Zoom since his awakening. And I've never had that feeling before. And so and it takes a lot to get me excited these days, man. I'm excited today.
Enjoy, man. Enjoy. It's so great.
Savoring it.
Definitely. It's funny because it took a lot before to get me excited, because I would be either very excitable for a day but then depressed for
exactly. And then I got burned out because I couldn't get excited because I know like the idea, it's like trauma. It's still here too on a certain level. Like I know part of my thing is still, even in the awakened state, it's still partly trauma of like, I can't even bring myself to think about getting what I want. I can't even bring myself to be excited about getting the thing I want because I'm probably not going to get the thing I want. And it's like, you know what I mean? If you're constantly deprived of getting the thing you want, you're going to stop wanting. And not in a good way, and in like a trauma-based way. Like, okay, like I guess I just can't ever want the finer things in life or the good experiences in life or living in a nice place or whatever it is, right? It's like, even now, there's still remnants of that trauma present. That's part of why I can't bring myself to get excited. And part of it's because of awakening. There's just this clear neutrality. It's both. Yeah.
That's the thing. At some point, it's bound to be completely gone because you can only think that it's not. It's just a thought, gone already. Do you know what I'm saying? It really is just a thought. So of course today I'm going to assume here it doesn't impact you really, not in that way. It's just your way. That's it. And life is fun, but but of course in a way, if you bring that up, like for me as well, because I see what you're saying, because there are. I don't like to say stories because I don't really have stories. I mean, everything's a story, but I don't have a suffering story anymore in that way. That's all gone. So it's all play.
Right.
But there are
There's nobody here to suffer.
Like I do what I do. I know it works. I know it's amazing. And sometimes I like to have this, but is it though? Do you know what I mean? Just like this, and it's an old habit of mine to
I've always done that.
To doubt this. And but the amazing thing is and now I can honestly say it's mostly gone. If it happens, there's a lingering then for 2 minutes, 3 at most, and it's not even a real suffering with them, because then I'm enjoying the so-called sadness. There's no sadness
because that's rare. Yeah, it's
exactly,
and it's not depression. That's the way I put it. It's like I to be quite blunt, I suffered from extreme depression from age 8 to 27. Literally, my entire unawakening was flavored by this background depression, as well as things like mania. Like I kind of had like ADHD and bipolar type tendencies as a seeker, and now like there's still I guess you could say there's still the positives of those things without it crippling me now.
I hear you.
There were points in my life where I couldn't even hold down a job. I'm slamming down liquor and chain smoking cigarettes and pot and things like that, and I still didn't feel right. It's still just downward spiraling bullshit. And now I don't need any of that. Now I can.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Have a cup of green tea and feel right as rain. It's like, that's so different.
Yeah.
Because I would need 20 cups of black coffee on an empty stomach in a fasted state, and I'd still feel fucked up. So I'd chain smoke cigarettes, still feel fucked up. And now I have a cup of green tea, and I'm like, and it's like so different. Like you were saying, it's like we know suffering. That's why we're able to do this so well with seekers. We know all about suffering, unfortunately.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's like,
no.
In a way, we're experts on suffering. So it's not. Yeah. People sometimes get the wrong idea if they meet a sage for the first time. Like, well, you don't know suffering. You're, as if you're on cloud 9. Liz, how could you ever relate to me? It's like, because I've been there full blast. I've been there contemplating suicide. I've been there in the addictions. I've been there in desperately seeking. So we know. We know what it's like. Yeah, we remember. Trust me. But like you said, sometimes if sadness rears its head, you might sit there and cry and savor the sadness because it's not depression.
No, it's not. It's just it's life. But there's like for example, I don't know. I mean, I'm married, right? And my wife's awake as well, actually, and we have we get along so well. It's like she's my the apple of my eyes in a way. Do you know what I mean? So of course, if something happens to her, I'm not expecting not to cry. I'm not expecting not to be sad. I'm not expecting to maybe to have a so-called hard time. I'm not expecting that to be otherwise. Yeah. But there won't be depression. It won't be real sadness. It won't be real whatever. It will be life goes on and goes on well. Do you know what I mean? And the idea of her, she's just a thought crossing my mind, just like I'm just a thought crossing her mind. So whenever the body leaves, there's one of us left. The thought can keep crossing your mind if you like, no problem. Does that make sense? What I'm saying? It's just, absolutely. And of course, there is missing. Of course, well, I'm saying of course, but here's the thing. Mind likes things it knows. I have no idea. The truth is how we'll react.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I always tell people. Well, if I was in that position, I would do blah, 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 blah. In reality, if this or that, whatever this or that is, if this or that happened to you, we have no fucking idea how we would react.
You have no idea.
And to pretend to know, I love them. People are like, well, if I ever had a knife put on me and I would do this and that and that. You don't fucking know. Well, if I was diagnosed with cancer, I would do that. Yeah. You don't fucking know what you would do. Don't pretend. I don't know what the fuck. I have ideas, but I'm not under the delusion that I know what the fuck I would do.
Yeah.
But when a sage talks about that side of it, what you were just talking about, when a sage talks about that side of it, sometimes seekers get this weird feeling like, well, that sounds cold-hearted. That sounds like narcissistic or sociopathic, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I remember feeling that way. I know what you mean. But how do you tell them that, like, I don't care, and that's not this psycho thing. This is just this is liberation. This is what freedom feels like, to not have to care, to not be overly drenched with believing in the story generating part of the mind, you know?
Yeah.
That's what causes the trouble. Why would it be bad to be okay? And how do you tell the
Exactly.
seeker, like, it's okay to be okay?
It's
Okay to be
okay to be
happy.
okay.
It's okay to feel fine, because they don't want to hear that.
Enjoy.
Well, you
Enjoy.
don't understand how much I've suffered. Like, oh, I do, though.
But actually, I do. Actually, I do. I understand it so well that I don't even need to hear it to know what you mean. So it's. But of course, yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. It's. But at the same time, and again, that's why. That's why I'm trying to analyze this. But why I use that way, using the mind, is that because in the end, you wake up. The truth of who you are wakes up to yourself. But who will confirm? It's your so-called mind. It's your brain. It's your this. So I felt like, why not use the fucking mind? It is so, and because that's it. So when people say, but there is no way to say this, there is no way to say that. True, absolute truth. There is no perfect way to say it, but there are great pointings, amazing pointings.
There are better pointings than others, for sure.
Exactly. That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
And yeah.
That's why people are like, why are you so obsessed with getting the right words? It's like, because they, it's all indirect pointing, but you might as well get the most direct form of indirect pointing.
Exactly. Exactly.
I know it can't be perfectly direct. You might as well get as close to that as words will allow, obviously, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I like your style too. It's interesting. That's the cool thing about this, is like one of the funniest paradoxes to me is like all my non-dual speaker friends. It's like, it's so funny because it's like we're all saying the same thing, but we all have our own unique style of doing it.
Yeah.
That suits us. And that's one of the funniest paradoxes to me, is here I am, this non-duality speaker who's trying to even maintain my sense of individuality within this message that can't be owned. Hilarious.
Yeah. It
I'm talking about how there's no individual, and if you maintain that, you're going to suffer. And yet I'm sitting there going, oh, but I got to maintain the individualistic expression and uniquely Andrewy flavor of this express. It's hilarious to me. What a paradox. Hilarious. And there's no, in the past, the seeker would kind of recoil from their own inherent paradoxical nature. And now I am so amused and delighted and ecstatically just infatuated with intentionally contradicting myself.
Yeah. It's exactly. It's really well put.
So comfortable contradicting myself. Comfortable doing it.
It is. It used to drive me nuts because if I would dare to realize that I would contradict myself, I'm so wrong. I'm such an idiot. I'm such a moron, and blah blah blah, and all those very harsh stories about this me, whatever. And of course, it's just never done in the first place. But you see, here's the thing. I see if you agree, basically. I think I'm convinced in the sense, really, I know it's not possible not to do the things the way you do. If I put it like this, it sounds obvious, but that's why then as a consequence, of course, when you say, okay, Andrew, the non-duality speaker, and I say, just don't stay stuck in the individual stuff, but I do it all the time and I connect myself and it's fun. Well, you can't do it otherwise. That's you. That's the expression of who you are, and it can't be otherwise. It's never been, it never will be. That's why you're bound to do what you like, even if today there is still a level of a story. I hear you, I know it's not a story, but a level of a there's so much like this that today it's bound to go. It's bound to go, and really fast, just like that. It's just a thought. It's gone already. It's just a fucking thought. Where is it?
Because its nature is fleeting. Yeah, it's like
exactly
because it is impermanent. Because it is fleeting.
Exactly.
It's going to be impermanent. It's going to be fleeting. Because that's what it is.
Because that's what it is.
Regardless of what they think. Yeah.
But what do you mean?
Like you could stare at an ice cube and think it's going to stay there. You could think that all day long. It's still going to melt in your hand.
What do you mean what it is? What it is? But it is what it is.
You don't need to see it for it to be what it is. Yeah, exactly. If I have a box with a red ball in it, regardless of what you think, there's a red ball in it.
Yeah.
Whether you open it or not. And if you open it, go, oh wow, you're right. There's a red button. Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
But
I know.
you didn't. I know. That's one of the most irritating things for me. It's not as bad now being awake, but that used to be one of my hugest pet peeves. It kind of still is. People act totally shocked. Wow, you were right. It's like, why are you that shocked?
Yeah.
About anything I say? Like, oh my God, you were right. Like, why are you that shocked? Like, you really don't trust my judgment to that level that you're absolutely shocked that I was correct?
Yeah.
Jeez. Wow.
But I remember for me, like when I was into Buddhism, I was into I don't know, Buddhism and other whatever, and I love the phrases, like, oh, that sounds nice, and I'm going to use it to make myself feel good. The self-help guru myself, right? Basically. And don't get me wrong, of course, for a while it
therapeutic affirmations. That's what Jim Newman talks about. Jim Newman talked about that in one of his talks. He had a group talk, and someone was like, I've been using your phrases that you told me, and it's been helping me feel. But he said, that's great and all, but that's not at all the original intention of this message. It's okay that you're doing that. Like, everything's perfect. Go ahead and keep doing that. If you resonate with that, you're using my quips as a form of therapy, and that's fine. But that has nothing to do with the kind of original functioning of what this message is implicating, So it's like, you can use things, but that's not necessarily the way it's done type of thing. You can do that, but it's kind of like using a hammer to do something totally like, oh, I use this hammer to as a decoration. It's like, okay, you can do that. But that's not why society creates hammers. But you can use that in your art piece. That's fine. You know what I mean? There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But that's not really what a hammer is for. Even though there's no function, there kind of is. You know what I
mean? Yeah. And that's the amazing thing, because of course, once you're awake, then but that was a hammer. Now I know, basically. And that's the thing. Once you can suddenly the whole Buddhism makes sense. All of it, no questions anymore, because you even dare to disagree. Does that make sense? Because who cares?
It's almost like the feeling I had with Buddhism was first of all, it was my guide, it was my stone, it was my thing I would rely on if I couldn't find my own wisdom. I would kind of rely on Buddhism. It would save my life, And I had bipolar tendencies, so of course, middle way and your emotions should be subtle, that type of thing helped as a seeker. But now it's I used to view Buddhism as the expert, and now it's I'm the advisor or the expert to Buddhism. It's so no, that's where Buddhism got confused over the course of 2,500 years. The seekers polluted it, and no, it's this way. And Buddhists don't want to hear that. Well, fuck you. It says here in the textbook, it says here in the scriptures that yada yada. It says that in the book. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So what?
It
doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. But of course, funny. Back then it talks also to another culture, to another civilization, to another era, another everything. And do you know what I mean? And of course it gets. Of course, I don't know, but it has got lost in translation, literally, because that's the thing. Then you translate into as well, and then it is the whole. And then there's those who want to use it as a power thing and blah blah blah, and we create religions, and we can redo the world. But of course, it's bound to. But anyone can wake up with that, but I don't think. There will be the occasional person that will, but I don't think most people will following that road, because it's for me. It really was an entry point. The Buddhism, completely. And I spent a week in a temple in France, but a proper Buddhist temple, and I started to meditate there and stuff, and I had no idea what the fuck I was doing.
Plum Village,
but it felt
or where
good.
Were you?
Sorry, what?
Was that Plum Village, or where did you go?
From Village?
You said France. I just assumed you were talking about.
Do you know France?
Well, no, I was thinking of I know that Thich Nhat Hanh had something in Paris or in France somewhere. He had Plum Village.
It wasn't that.
I didn't know if that was that or not.
No, it's not. I
am half
the name rings
French,
a bell,
but I've never been there.
Okay, so you speak French?
Ouais.
Oh,
je parle français un peu.
Bravo.
Mais pas couramment. Yeah.
Mais c'est très bien.
Not fluent, but close, half fluent maybe. I have a good accent.
Wow.
But I'm not the accent might fool people and thinking, wow, he's totally fluent. Are you from France? No, I'm not that fluent. It was funny when I was in college. I had such a good accent that and I only half understood what I was saying, but I had such a good accent that the teacher, we had a girl from France teaching us French, and she turned to me and she goes, "Are you from France?"
Nice.
I cracked up laughing. I said, "I don't know what we're saying right now." And she's like, "That's amazing. How is that possible?" I'm like, "I don't know what I just said." And she said, "But you said it with a perfect accent. I could have swore you. I was going to ask you what part of France you're from." And I'm like, "I don't know what we're saying right now. I just know I just had the accent."
Oh, it's lovely. It's lovely.
It's
a very, very nice compliment.
It's beautiful. Yeah.
It's a very nice compliment.
Yeah.
For me, what happened a few times back when I used to work at a bank a long time ago. My God, in another life, and I worked a lot with London, so I would go to London really, really often. And what would happen is that I would meet guys in pubs or thing, with the loud music, the everything, and I start speaking to them, and then blah 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 blah. Then we go outside having a smoke or whatever, and I'm like, "Oh, you're not English." I'm like, "It took you some time." Nice, They're like, "Oh, you're French." Yeah, fuck you.
Yeah,
but
it's been an ancient battle between those, across the channel. Yeah.
Oh, I dropped that battle a long time ago. Like I don't give a shit anymore. But I used to try and perfect my
cliffs of Dover. Yeah.
Yeah. But I went to try the Buddhist temples and stuff and meditation, but I had no idea what I was doing. But it was an introduction to Buddhism, and it made sense to me back then. I thought this is it, but this is it, and then the whole trying to fucking understand, and of course get lost in it. But again, because I don't know why. It's because I can know why. I have no clue.
I don't ever need to know why again.
No, yeah. And in a way, you know why, but it doesn't matter. It's
that's the thing. I tell people say, well, we can never know why. It's like, no, I understand exactly upon awakening, or even before that, really, you can have glimpses or some, you didn't know why, because you're alone, because this can't ever be real. That's why.
Yeah.
But I still don't know how the mechanics of this are doing this magic trick, and I could care less. Why would I want to know that?
No, exactly.
You can slip behind the veil and kind of see the machinations of it, but that's kind of spooky sometimes. What's the point? It's like knowing the code in your video game. Why would you care what the string of code
exactly.
is? You're playing the game, and there's a beautiful. Why would you want to look at the code? That's boring. Yeah, that's not fun. That's work.
No, it is. It's really.
Like I don't think the guy that wrote the video game probably has a slightly harder time. Sorry, that was me. That I get a telemarketer call and I'm on my phone, so the screen goes blank. That's on my end. But I just hit end and then it stopped. But yeah, I don't remember what I was saying. It didn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Nothing matters.
Nothing matters. Nothing matters. But yeah, it's amazing. It really is amazing to be so-called awake, because there's no fucking. And at the very same time, it fucking doesn't matter, and it's just
I mean, I prefer it.
No, of course. No, but it doesn't matter. It's like when you talk about the excitement before, for example. I mean, don't get me wrong. I found it very interesting you said that, because I actually used to get excited a lot more than before. But there's no attachment to that very experience. That's the whole difference. I'm excited, good. Right. I'm tired, good. There's no whatever. That's the whole freedom of it, basically.
And that's another thing with Buddhism. That's one of the main things, right? Buddhism always harps on, it tells its Dharma practitioners and things. It says, you have to keep destroying. Get rid of your attachments. And really, that's a prescription instead of a description type thing, because upon awakening, attachments just are gone. It's not there's a gradual thing. No, instantly you went from having all these attachments to now there can't be attachments.
Yeah.
In a good way. And yet it's not something you did. It's something that happened to you. Yeah. And that's such a misconception in Buddhism in particular.
It is.
This is something you do, and willpower, and you cultivate. And you have to sit there for 12 hours a day doing this thing. You have to stay in line. you have to stay in line. You know, there's a hierarchy, blah, blah, blah. There's rules. It's like, that's not it at all. That's taking a description and turning it into a prescription over the course of millennia, a game of telephone for 2,500 years. And of course, Buddhism kept more of that intact than, say, you know, Catholicism or Islam or something, where the message got distorted into the seeking mind out of the sage mentality. But, you know, Buddhism still has hangups where it did that a little bit, obviously. It's just not as bad as some of the other systems, maybe.
Agreed,
that doesn't make it totally immune. That doesn't mean it's the one system that didn't do that. No, it just did it a little less. The words of a sage are still far more potent than your textbook on Buddhism, for example.
Yeah, exactly. Completely.
And that's what I always say. I say, do you know why? I always make the joke, because people say, like, sometimes I'm narcissistic or arrogant. And so I'll say things like, well, just like the Beatles, I'm bigger than Jesus. And do you know why? And they'll say, why? I'll say, because I'm alive. You can't talk to him. He's dead. Buddha's dead. Socrates is dead. You can call me. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. There's a living sage.
That's freaking brilliant. It's so fucking true. So fucking true.
Because Jesus isn't here to say, fuck you, I didn't say that. I didn't put it that way. It's not at all what I meant. No. We are.
That's fucking brilliant. Yeah, we are exactly.
If someone tries to put words in my mouth, I'll shut them down right away. You know, if someone trying to misrepresent what I think, nope, that's not at all what I said. I said what I said. Here's what was meant by it, even though there's no meaning. Yeah, isn't that funny?
It was, yeah, it's it's really funny. There was this guy not so long ago. He what was it? Because I went to see a herbalist, actually, which you know, I told you on Facebook the whole new diet stuff, commenting on one of your posts, and anyway, so that guy, and honestly, again, the mind, I was very impressed, because I went there just purely for the, how am I going to explain to him, not awake, not a sage, okay, that I have, the reason I'm going to him is purely physical, in the sense that I will feel, for lack of a better word, emotions, which are not such. You hear what I'm saying? But like, and I know it has to do with the way I treat my body. Like I was clear on that. I just didn't know, wasn't sure where to go. And this guy, so I started explaining that I said to explain that to him very like down to earth, not talking about spirituality or anything, or enlightenment or anything. And the guy looks at me and he tells me loads and loads of stuff of how he lost my thought here. How he's gonna help me this and that. And I'm like, my God, it's very spot on what he says. So I listen carefully, and as someone looks at me, he's like, "Can I look into your eyes?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And he's like, because you can tell a lot of things with the iris, and I can read your iris. I'm like, look, in that realm of, you know, I'm gonna bite, you know.
Yeah.
And the guy tells me, okay, so you have a tendency to do this, to do this, to do that, to do that. And I was like, fuck. Like, I was like, okay, I'm listening. And he looks at me, he's like, you're a spiritual teacher or something like that, aren't you? Like, you didn't know my name before. So I was blown away. I was blown away. And the guy goes
impressive,
like, I was really impressed. I was like, okay, look, you really have my full attention here. so I thought, like, I'm going to listen to every word he says for me, for my health, right? And I did. Freaking amazing. In a matter of days, the transformation is just, anyway, just amazing guy. But I haven't been perfect ever since, but now I really know what's good enough for my body. But if that makes sense, like food wise, anyway. But anyway, so back to what I was saying. I was so blown away. At some point, he looks at me and like, but you're like Jesus. You really are like just, and I burst out laughing. I was like, is it long hair? Is it long hair? It's like, I can move my glasses if you like. You know what I mean? So I mean, and it's like, no, it's like you're not the reincarnation, because I don't think there's such a thing, but it's really, oh, Buddha, I'm not sure. But he was so freaking serious, and I was like, it's amazing. Now, of course, that was his non-awake mind translating something here. But I found that amazing. Do you know what I mean? To just fuck. And I was like, so I woke up, I was like,
wow.
It's funny. It's so funny. It's so funny.
Well, you're bigger than Jesus because you're alive.
Yeah, that's true. Forget that one. I'm better.
Don't forget.
You know what? I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna say like my buddy Andrew says I'm better than Jesus. Why? Because I'm like, oh. That's cool. That's really cool. That's really cool.
I mean, but, Jesus probably wished he was here to say, I didn't put it like that. What are you doing? You're butchering my whole message. Oh my God.
Yeah. My God, yeah, seriously.
People go, well,
seriously.
Here's what Jesus said. Here's what Buddha said. Like, how the fuck do you know? That probably got horribly butchered.
Yeah. There's that whole, I don't know if you heard something, I think it's a documentary, there's that whole theory that Jesus actually didn't die at 33, but like was a Buddhist monk afterwards and died when he was 80 years old or something. I have no idea if that's true, but I
found he was I think he was 73. His name was Esau or something like that. He supposedly what happened was yeah, cool that you thought about that. So first of all, I believe he went to like India and Nepal when he was between 12 and 30, and then he came back preaching, yogic Buddhism basically, and then he faked his own death basically. So according to this story, what happened was that sponge they feed him the water on the cross with was a sedative that knocked him out, and then he looks like he's dead, and they try to check, and his pulse is lowered. He's totally knocked out. They're poking him. He doesn't hurt. He's not reacting. I guess he's dead. So then they take him into that cave where they roll the thing over it, and he's in there for 3 days, and then he's resurrected. Well, really, he was unconscious in like a coma, basically, because of the stuff they fed him on the stick. And the way we know this is in the Bible, it says something along the lines of, there's code in the Bible. Like, for example, when they say frankincense and myrrh, they mean a frankincense, myrrh, and like 12 other things. It's just a common way of putting it is frankincense and myrrh. Well, the same is true of medicinal herbs. So they would call it aloe. So they say they brought like 100 pounds of aloe into the cave. They brought 100, like to revive him. They brought all these medicinal herbs to kind of rejuvenate him out of that comatose state that they put him in to fake his death, to help him survive. And then supposedly Mary Magdalene, who was his wife, his pregnant wife, or at very least his wife, she traveled to India and those areas to become a spiritual teacher herself. And he pretended to be some other guy that was one of her followers for the rest of his life. And then he died at a ripe old age of like 73, and we know where his bones are, type of deal. He's actually in a Islamic burial temple thing, if I remember right. Yeah, but as a seeker, I got really deep into all that type of stuff. But yeah, it's definitely possible. Yeah,
it's definitely possible. It's very, very interesting. I mean, because it's what is very possible. What is so clear is that the Bible's been manipulated and used and this and that. So once you realize that it's you don't know that, but it seems obvious. Basically, then that actually what you're saying now makes a lot more sense to me.
I heard another interesting kind of conspiracy theory type thing. And again, this is the domain of the personal, the ego mind, the seeking, interested mind. That's okay, though. It's fun. And another story I heard, another conspiracy type theory that kind of like, it kind of does make sense, was that Jesus Christ, JC, was technically the love child of Julius Caesar and Cleopatra, which makes him the last pharaoh and the rightful heir to the Holy Roman Empire.
Whoa.
JC, Julius Caesar, Jesus Christ, JC. So his actual historical name from that context was Octavian. Or I'm sorry, not Octavian, Caesarion. So you know how they say C-section, virgin birth?
Yeah.
It's like Caesarion means little Caesar. And supposedly that was Jesus. So he was about 12, and he had an older half-brother who was also trying to claim the Roman Empire. He was a 30-year-old general, and he was trying to go around and slay all the other heirs to the throne. And Cleopatra got nervous and sent little Jesus, little Caesarion, to India to escape that. So that's why he was sent. And he was sent with 12 servants, 2 of which were named Mary and Joseph.
It's brilliant. Oh, it's very interesting. You see again the like, because I remember last time at the Tech Talk we were talking, someone asked like what's the goal of life, and I think that both I mean you, I and Giselle all said, well, basically to enjoy, basically, something like that. And that's the thing, like what's happening right here, right now. This whole like hour and a half been really, really, really fun. Thank you very much. Really enjoying.
Me too.
Thank you. But the other thing is like right now we're talking about these so-called conspiracy theories, and that's all 100% mind-based.
Yeah,
and
it's all
enjoy, and we enjoy,
exactly.
and that's it.
We
and
can enjoy
that,
the duality
honestly, like that's the message I would say to whomever will be watching this. Basically, is like that's it. There is nothing to enlightenment other than to enjoy your mind fully. That's it, with no I should or I shouldn't. I mean,
you can enjoy your ordinary life, and it doesn't feel lacking.
Exactly.
You don't need this crazy over the top thing that wouldn't really do anything anyway. It wouldn't really make you feel anything. It's just, you can finally enjoy your ordinary life. For the first time since early childhood. Yeah.
Yeah. And enjoy being lost in those being lost. You never lost, but using your mind in that way, that it's okay that this, so Jesus did this and did that, and it's just, you don't know, we don't know, it just sounds fun, and that's it. That's about it. And that's the amazing magic of life. It's just we won't ever know anything, but we know that.
We know that we wouldn't even want to know, because that would kind of put a damper on the fun. It's like a little kid not knowing, just running around squealing, and then the parents going, well, blah blah blah, and they shut down the fun. Okay, oh, here come the adults, here's the buzzkill. Okay, buckle up, we'll never be like them, right? We all promise. No, 8 years old, you become like them.
Boom. Exactly. Yeah.
And people all it's funny how that works. And I would say, technically, if we're going to talk on the most ultimate level, there is no purpose, because a purpose would be a limit that you're imposing and say, well, it's only for this. That's another. But if I am to give an inch to the seeking mind and say, okay, fine, you're asking me a question, I'll answer it directly, and you don't want to hear this jargon, I'll pretend there's a purpose.
Precisely.
And yes, absolutely, enjoyment.
Precisely.
Yeah. But I also don't want to give people the wrong idea. Like if there's somebody that's in excruciating pain and going through intense depression, they're going, well, there must be something wrong with me then, because I can't enjoy. No. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with anything. Everything's still perfect. But if you're going to play the dualistic game of pretending there's a purpose, enjoyment for sure, full blast.
Exactly. 100%. Yeah. Exactly. Completely. And again, enjoyment, whatever that means to you, to me, to whomever, because that's the trick. It doesn't mean anything. Again, it's just
It's funny because the way I like to put it is we were talking about the difference between our message and Eckhart Tolle, for example. Eckhart Tolle talks about the pain body, which is like the energetic cousin to the ego, and I like to talk about the enjoyment body, which is like the bliss sheath, the enjoyment body, the rainbow body, that type of tantric empowerment type of thing. It's like it's okay to enjoy your life. It's okay to enjoy everything about it, even the pain, the sadness, stubbing your toe. You can enjoy all that, as well as the bliss of awareness and the bliss of freedom and of spontaneity. You can enjoy it all. And so Eckhart talks, that's one of my little poetic quips. Eckhart talks about the pain body, but I like to talk about the enjoyment body.
Nice. I like it. It's a very, very good analogy. Yeah, it's good. It's really nice. Because that's, I mean, I know that's how I see it, because I'm done searching, then I don't ask myself any of those questions anymore, except when I try and help people, which is basically every day. So because I'm making it my job, which is just what I love. But anyway, whatever. But because there's no need for it, there's no nothing, it's just the pure expression of that which appears to be me, which is not, freely. And because of that, of course, your mind is completely free, completely. So you enjoy, of course you enjoy, but because that's the ultimate thing. But again, it's really about realizing first that what it is to enjoy, and what it is to enjoy is basically stop suffering. That's how I see it anyway. It's first to stop suffering, because if you stop suffering, you're bound to enjoy. Like that.
And you don't necessarily have to wake up to enjoy.
No,
but it makes
exactly.
it a hell of a lot effortlessly, spontaneously easier to do that.
Exactly.
There are people that have pleasant lives that they enjoy, even though they're in the dualistic seeking mind. it doesn't become a problem for them to the extent where they're crushed by it. But
exactly.
The other side of that is those of us who have woke up tend to have been crushed by the suffering. And that's kind of the part of the impetus to even seek that fully and to then somehow click into that.
Yeah, exactly. But then there are also the what I call the lucky bastards who who I think kind of wake up so-called naturally. It's just like at some point they get that's it, and that's it. That nothing changes. But of course, from that point, for the little suffering they had, they basically won't happen anymore. And it's I do think I don't know, but that happens too basically. But because I mean, you and I come from in a way a very similar path, in a way, which is the path of hard suffering, like really hard, like do you know what I mean?
Dragged through hell toward enlightenment is the way I usually put
life is hell. Like life is hell. Like this is hell. Heaven doesn't exist.
That's how I used to see it, and that's what's so funny. I used to look around the world and I go, okay, there must be some other realm or something, because clearly this is hell. And now it's so funny because I'm looking around the same world and not much has changed. And I'm telling people, can't you see it? This is paradise.
Exactly.
What a difference. And they go, how can you say that? Life is hell. I remember thinking that. I know exactly how you feel, mean, see, I get it. But you're seeing the world upside down. How do I show you that? You know, type of thing.
Exactly. It's so freaking simple.
By the way, one of my friends put it the other day. He said, within Buddhism, if we're going to look at right view, right concentration, that type of thing, he said, right view is the key. In other words, once you wake up, you automatically have the right view, and then everything falls into place on its own. And really, we're just describing what that's like, and that's where Buddhism comes from. It's not that you can, but it is helpful. It is how it was the best guide for me. It's probably saved my life, etc. But it's not what it seems to be until afterwards, and you can see what it really is.
Yeah. Exactly.
And the way I like to put it is I say, samsara is seeing the world upside down, and nirvana is seeing the world right side up.
Yeah. Makes perfect sense.
So it's the same world. It's just. Yeah.
Again, translation, because that, I mean, I never thought of that, but again, that makes perfect sense to my mind who wants to understand, because it's fun, basically. Yeah, it does. It's really cool.
Well, I think I should get going. We're on the hour here. I don't know if my next call is able to show up or not, but I want to give them the opportunity anyway. So.
That's fine. Thank you very much. It's been really, really fun.
Thank you. Very enjoyable. Hey, I appreciate it.
All right. Yeah, likewise.
Had a good time.
Sorry?
I said I had a good time. I think this is a good one. This will be
cool.
It's a potent one. Yeah.
I think it's a very, very rich one. Yeah, thank you very much. I really enjoyed it. You're a very, very lovely character.
You too. Yeah, I always enjoy your company.
Anytime. Let's stay in touch anyway for
sure.
How we and how it is, and anytime honestly could be cool. If you like, you know what, we'll just drop it here, and I'll contact you after. Okay. I have ideas if you like we could do together. Just ideas. Just sure. You. Yeah. Cool.
Sounds great.
Awesome. Okay. Enjoy your call with the guy.
Thank you.
Enjoy him being. Enjoy the guy being awake. Freaking awesome. Cool.
Bye, man.
Bye, Andrew. Take care.
Bye.